a visit, yeah. Got a lunch, that's down there at our lunch house on the north end of the house. Well, yeah, community breakfast 7 to 9. Either way, it's, you gotta watch yourself there. Yeah. I go to breakfast, then go to lunch, then go to dinner. Pancake eating contest. Sorry, sounds like a good deal to me. Good times.
We'll call this meeting to order. This is our regularly scheduled meeting of the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency. It's August 11th. It's right at 6 o'clock, and we will ask our secretary to call the roll, please.
Chairman Porter,
Here.
Commissioner Doty,
Here.
Commissioner Warwick. Here. Commissioner Brooks,
Here.
Commissioner Cole,
Here.
Commissioner Allgood,
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here. Very good. We have a full house. As per usual, are there any conflicts of interest with any items on our agenda this evening that pose a conflict for commissioners? Seeing none, we will move on to public comments. And no one has signed up, so we will move down to consent calendar. And I have one thing to note on the consent calendar on page 3 of your packet, but page 1 of the minutes. During audience participation, Councilman Stoddard spoke about the importance of having Roger Brooks coordinate with our team, and a portion that I believe needs to be clarified, and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. It says Commissioner Moore reported that his conversations with Mr. Ginky had been positive and supportive. I believe you meant to say, or meant to record your conversations with Mr. Brooks.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we had the meeting there on Main Street at Bob Jenkins's glass place in a community meeting, and he was asked about that as a URA area, and he'd pre-knowledge of it, so he supported it, and he sounded good with it. And then we also had a one-on-one. Julie and I had a one-on-one, and we talked to him about it. So he supported those areas, especially or that in that area. So it was all positive conversation with him.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on that? So are we ready to move on that with that one correction being made? Mr. Allgood?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the consent calendar with the correction as described.
Do we have
Second.
And a second by Ms. Warwick. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Commissioner Allgood,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick. Yes. Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Very good. This brings us to our update reports, and the first up tonight is Mr. Cooper with RRC. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Very well, thanks. Good to see you.
It's been a while. So as you see, we're up and out of the ground. We're waiting for concrete to cure out completely so we can start setting our steel. Plumbing is underground, so we're just waiting for steel to be set so we can continue to keep going vertical. So that's about all that I have for you.
Very good. Mr. Allgood, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. I'm just curious if you had an approximate completion date. You got a target date to get done?
Yeah, well, obviously the sooner that we could get done, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. But there's been
We've had
some
quite a
delays,
few
so-
little hiccups running through this project, as you guys have known. And we're probably shooting for end of winter, beginning of spring to be completed on this, so.
All right. And do you have any elevations that we could see? Pictures of what your final product's going to look like?
They're consistent with what was sent
Are
in
they?
the original.
Nothing's really
Nothing's
changed on
changed. Yep.
Okay, cool.
There might be a new bridge in front of it with
Yeah, yeah, but everything's kind of stayed on track as how you're going to build it.
exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Cooper? Very good. Thank you, Derek.
All right, thank you, guys.
Appreciate you being here. Next up is Sean with TS Development. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening. I didn't come by myself this time, so you didn't have to just hear me speak. This is Tom, who works with Grand Peak, the general contractor, and we spoke, I think the last few times I gave the update that we're waiting on to submit for permitting. we have finally the plans with all of the different elevations and civil engineering and stuff like that. We actually got that this morning, but I'll let him talk.
Yeah, we're hoping to submit permit by the end of next week. We're going to review the drawings this week and get with some of our key subcontractors as well. So end of next week is planned for submittal, and we're looking at about an 18-month build window.
And then we could submit this, but essentially I think he's looking to make sure that all of the dimensions are right and they interface with each other, plumbing, electrical, and stuff like that. And one more thing to cross off and make sure it's good, so we don't have to figure that out during building.
Right.
So,
Good
Very
point.
good. Any questions for Sean or Tom? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Tom, can you tell us, is there any changes, anything to your tenants, any future leases, anybody had any change of heart, or is everything kind of projecting out the way it is, or is it too early to tell?
I think everything's projecting out the way it is, and it's going nicely. We've had a salon, hair salon, sign on to the second floor already for about 3,000 feet, and we're in talks for the remainder, so it's going well.
Thank you. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're excited.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next comes from Base Layer in District 26. Shane, how are you?
Thank you for having me. How's everyone today?
Good.
Good. We have a presentation. Could pull that up. Try to get some visuals anyway. Great, thank you. So we can, I think everybody's seen this emblem a few times. We can go ahead and go to the next slide if you don't mind. Or am I supposed to do that? Let's see. Well, thank you. Okay, so we wanted to just cover a few things. I think we are to the point where we are ready to do some design work on behalf of, the city, if Rob will allow us to do that, which we've had some discussions with him, and he seems to think that that would probably be a good approach. We're really to the point where the road systems and the sewer system designs, and mainly for the public road that would go through Gravel Lane, needs to be designed. And we have some pricing for the bid work. And so these are kind of the three top priorities that the city's outlined for us for this project, and kind of progressing through our site and up through eventually to Highway 44. And so what we would like to do is we would like to get moving forward, and we're willing to upfront the design cost and start that process, kind of right away, so that we can, check that box as we get questions from end users really in the market. And so from the construction standpoint and beyond the design, we'd really encourage the city to budget some funds so that we can answer those questions. If you'd like to go to the next slide, I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. So to back up for a minute, we've gotten as far as the creation of the legal lots. We have lot descriptions, we have lots identified, and we're going through the recording process now. That's taken quite a bit more time than what we had hoped, but I think we've got all of those items that were outstanding answered for the city, and we've kind of gone back and forth on some things, and this seems to be workable for both of us. This was not the original design, if you remember. This is the design that Rob would like to progress, and we're comfortable with it, and I think it's a good design. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about just some of the things that we're hearing and kind of going through from a market standpoint. Thanks. So these are, you know, some of the end user things. We've talked about several opportunities. We had a 1031 exchange buyer. We had a large end user that was interested in the area and in the property. We also have a current owner, operator in the area that would like to expand and add jobs. And as we talk to each of these folks, this is just primary information that we're forwarding and kind of sharing with you, is that we're just not able to answer these questions when they come up properly. And everyone is really looking for surety. And surety meaning, you know, they want to know that we have a design. The design's been approved, you know, from the city's perspective, the city's got a design. This is a public road. So they want to know that there's a financial commitment to actually build the road. And then they want to know timeframes. Like when can I actually access the property and utilities, you know, on the property? And so far, we haven't been able to answer those questions. So I think that that's really what we're trying to achieve, is how do we collaborate together so that we can answer those questions and bring end users into this portion of Caldwell. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So I think, you know, from our perspective, obviously this is a collaboration amongst the city and ourselves and the Urban Renewal Agency to progress this area forward. So what we'd like to do again is, you know, upfront the cost of the design work and get that going. And really what we're looking for is surety for us as a developer and a partner in this to be able to, you know that there's funding available for this project going forward, not only for our own edification, but also I think for the market. It's really important. The three groups that I mentioned, one has renewed a short-term lease for a couple of years while we kind of figured some things out. One has moved on, the 1031 exchange buyer, without these questions answered, can't move forward. I recently had lunch with them. They're out of Paris, and they just said we're just not there yet. So the other end user, which was the large end user, they are working on some other priority projects for themselves right now because they felt like we're just not far enough along. So I think to activate this area and to kind of bring it forward, these would be great next steps, in my opinion. You can go to the next one. I think that's it. So.
Great, thank you, Shane.
Sure.
Questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I saw that you have it URA funded, and I think we talked about this last time. URA doesn't have the money in it right now, so
Right.
maybe Rob will have to step up here and see if any of these suggested projects are in his 2026 budget. And if not, then I think that's where we're at right now. It takes a while for URA to gather these funds.
Yes.
And Rob, do you mind? I mean, last time we heard that we weren't in support of them, but when it says URA funded, I think that's where some of the
Yep.
issue might come up.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, we have a proposal that we're going to be presenting a little later on in the agenda that talks about a possible financing mechanism so that we can get some of these projects jump-started and maybe get the bonding, the funding immediately to get some of these projects going. And so I would probably defer a little bit longer until we get to that, and then I think Mr. Hilty has a little bit to present, and then I will also get up and speak a little.
Fair enough. We'll wait. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Shane?
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Appreciate your
Thank
time.
Our next report comes from 7th and Main. Dean Pape, I believe, is on the line, or was going to show up virtually tonight. Dean, can you hear us? Good evening, Dean. We can see you. Have nothing there? Okay. Okay, somehow we're just not making a good connection here. Stephen, would you try to get him on the line and maybe find a way to call in?
Jim, are you looking for me? I can hear you now.
Oh, you can? Okay. Well, very good. How are you this evening?
Sorry. I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Just fine, thanks.
Good. Well, as always, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. Always appreciate the time with you guys. Update on the Tillian. I'm not sure if anyone else had spoken about it recently, but we are 100% leased. Just lost you guys. In the retail. With all of those operations, if they're not currently open, opening soon. So ground floor activity continues to grow in the area, and leasing activity remains strong. So the interest in living and activating downtown Caldwell remains high. With respect to phase 2, we continue conversations about the opportunity of adding a hotel in regards to the phase 2 property, along with the potential of the adjoining property, but are holding until such time as we know that the additional property can be added to the phase 2 property. And with that, that's the general update at this point, but happy to stand for any questions.
Very good, thank you. Questions for Dean? Mr. Doty?
Hi, Dean, this is Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, can you go over what the new businesses are? I know of at least one that's going in there. You said you're 100% leased on the business space, is that correct?
Yeah, all the ground floor retail is 100% leased. The corner, the active corner there on Maiden 7th is Griddle. So they'll take that entire corner plus some of the outside area, then our pass through. So the alleyway that goes across 7th. And then Bubbly Facial Bar will be the taking the remaining space, which is also there on 7th, just to the south of the what you would consider kind of alleyway or passageway area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions this evening? I see no other questions, Dean. Thanks for checking in with us, though. We appreciate it very much. Have a good evening.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next month. You too. Bye-bye.
Next update is from Wolfpack Development, and I'm not sure if Carrie, I know she's not here in person. Anybody online waiting for us there? Okay. So no report from Wolfpack. Next would be the Canyon County Fair in Diana Center. And Mark, you had some correspondence from her this afternoon.
I did. Is there anybody here from the fair or the county? She was potentially going to send somebody else. She's out of town. And the report was, as you'll recall from last month, she was in the middle of the fair and couldn't show up. Planned to meet with the city council about the project that she'd like to see going forward at Gabiola Field. That has not happened yet, and she said that she was working with some folks at the city to try to get on the calendar, but also trying to coordinate other stakeholders as well. So that would be the rodeo, the college, to try to kind of look at whether or not that project on Gabiola Field makes sense. She also indicated, and this was in an email, I haven't spoken to her, and so unless I misunderstood, she was also looking at sort of alternatives if this project doesn't go forward. How can she get this closed out? Which again is something that she knows is important. I've talked to her about that. That one way or another, this project or another, or just refunding the money and moving on, we need to get this thing closed out. So she understands that there's a desire at the agency to do that. And she said something about that in the email. It was a little bit like, I'd looking at other alternatives or would look at other potential projects as well.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark on that matter? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Mark, what's the amount that we're looking to close out? I mean, just ballpark?
Just over 200,000.
I think I kind of remember, but I just want to make sure I'm thinking about the same thing you guys are.
It's 218,000.
Okay.
Okay, and our final update report is from ArchNexus. This came in the form of an email that we got late this afternoon, and Raylyn put a copy of that on everybody's desk. So we have that, and we'll make sure that that gets in our minutes and in our records. They have done a great job. I was at the community meeting that they held at the library, and it was well attended and a lot of good discussion. I was encouraged by the fact that most of the interest shown was from residents of Caldwell that don't live in that area, but still wanted to see it come back to life and deal with some of the critical issues there. So they've been doing a really good job. Brings us to our first item of old business, which is an action item, and it's the next steps on Site A project area, the one that's diagonally across from Flying M, right there at the plaza. Is that you, Stephen?
Street, or Arthur Street and Kimball Avenue in downtown Caldwell. It's at a very prominent location just across the street from Indian Creek Plaza. As you all can tell here, there's the lot just displayed here on this PowerPoint. If you can go to the next screen for me, thank you. So just an aerial view of the site there, but I just wanted to cover real briefly an agenda history of the site. We have a few new commissioners here that I think it might be helpful to cover some of the details around the history that related to the RFP processes and so forth, discussions about this property in general, requests for proposals, submittals, and then options for the future. And we'll head to the next slide there. So you guys can see I had to search far and wide for these photos. So I took these a long time ago. This was back in 2020, early 2020, I think January or so. But that building was there. It was formerly the Mr. C's carpet store. I think before that it was probably something very different. But when I was here, that was what it was affectionately called. And then it became the Caldwell Parks and Recreation Department office location for some time. So the city of Caldwell actually owned the building and transferred it to Urban Renewal. It was subsequently demolished in 2020. So the bottom picture there is what you see is the condition, more or less, is what it looks like today. But you can see it was demolished, and based on these photos here, there was some big plans for it, and I'll go over some of those plans here shortly. And forgive me in advance for reading a little bit. I just want to make sure I have the accurate dates of RFP dissemination and submittals and all that good stuff. So I'll make sure that that's all tied in, but we'll go to the next slide here. So the first RFP was issued in September of 2019. I actually started with the city in 2019. So it's my first year with the city. We received a winning proposal on January 17, 2020 from Site A Brewing. Site A Brewing is based in La Grande, Oregon. This group was a really fun group to work with. I remember just this is a group of friends that started this business out in La Grande, and they were highly successful, just really excited about Caldwell. They were here probably bi-weekly, I mean, just very, very often. Spent a lot of time with them, with me and Mr. Steve Foltz, my predecessor who was here at the time. They were eager to move forward with this project. And then COVID-19 hit, and it was devastating to the state of Oregon. Oregon had much more restrictive guidelines around COVID-19 as far as business operations are concerned. It was pretty impactful to their business platform, and they had to pull out of their project and their ambitions to build here in the city. But this was a two-story design concept. They were going to do brewing on site. You guys can see that on the far, or at least my far right there. The Mr. C's building is actually tied into the project. It was still up by the time that they submitted. They were going to utilize that space and incorporated that into the new design. And they were going to do this in phases, so they had a two-story concept there again. They had a viewing area that would view into the plaza. Just a great little option for the city on that parcel there. And the parcel is not very big. It's the hard corner, which is very important piece of that lot, but nonetheless, it is pretty small. It's 4,500 square feet. So they utilize that space probably to the utmost degree possible. So I really appreciated that design. And we'll go to the next one, please. So following this, we issued another RFP in September of 2021. We received a winning proposal from the Caldwell Legacy Group. Some of the members of this group own adjacent parcels. You guys can see here that the project actually fills the dirt lot in its entirety. This was a 2-story office retail building with condominiums included. It actually had a small parking lot in the back as well for those condos. The project would have utilized the entire area, would have been a great fit. Unfortunately, the winning bidders could not provide a firm estimate for the project in terms of timelines. They requested a deferral due to the impacts of COVID-19, more or less the supply chain impacts with building materials and the escalating costs that were pretty uncertain at that time. And that was subsequently denied by the commission. And then we'll go to the next slide, please. And then we went on to another RFP that was disseminated in October of 2022. Winning proposal came from Aztec Development. This was led by Ken Sanga. You are probably familiar with that name. Ken's plan featured a 3-story mixed-use concept. You all may remember this, but he considered underground parking. That held us up for a little bit. He had to have conversations with Public Works, Engineering, just to make sure everything would process in the manner that he had hoped for. It took a little while, but we ultimately decided to move away from that plan. Then there was off-site parking that was considered, so he had various discussions with property owners that were near or adjacent to the site. Those fell flat. During the course of some of those discussions, he actually was in communication with the adjacent property owners, which at the time, Ray Wolf and Carl Ballman owned those lots next door. He ended up purchasing those, which he still has ownership of today. And the plan changed and morphed. As you guys can see, it started off as a 3-story concept, then it went to 4 stories. That's on the bottom of the screen here, and it fills the whole property. It continued to evolve over time. I think it got as high as 7 stories, somewhere in there, but multiple stories. So it was pretty grandiose. And ultimately, he had a retail and residential component or design that he had planned to fulfill on that property there. And then after some time, the commission, in working with Ken Sango, the commission decided to retract or pull the land back and ultimately take Ken Sango and Aztec Development off this property and then reissue another RFP, which we did in March of 2025. And we did not receive any qualifying proposals for that. We did have some interest, but didn't receive any firm proposals and during that time. So, and then we'll go to the next slide there. So future options, next steps. So in these meetings, I know we've talked a little bit openly about selling the property, surplusing the property, what that could look like. I've had discussions with Mr. Hilty, and Mr. Hilty, you can certainly correct me if I misstate anything here. But ultimately, I just want to remind you all of some of the other properties that the city has done that, have surplused in the downtown, and what's happened as a result of that process. So of late, we've surplused 2 properties. One is downtown. It's in the alley. It's adjacent to Indian Creek Steakhouse. That property remains vacant. The new owner uses it periodically for pop-ups. So they do food trucks. They put some lights in there. They cleaned it up, but there's no development that has occurred of late. That surplus process is basically a bidding process, so the highest bidder wins. Urban Renewal nor the city has control over how that development occurs. It must be congruent with the planning and zoning ordinances, so the city center zoning classification in the downtown, that's ultimately what it has to adhere to, but we have no control whatsoever as to how it's developed, and of course that property I referenced is not developed. We had another property that was surplused, smaller lot, it's on Albany and Kimball. It also has not been developed to date. So that's one that the city surplused, I would say about a year ago. And we're still waiting on plans to be submitted for that one, just seeing where that goes. But ultimately, we have no control. If a fence is put up and they wait and hang out for 10 years, we don't have any control over that. So that's just some of the things I just want to mention if we were to proceed in this fashion here. So this lot, 119 South Kimball, urban renewal law is a little ambiguous as far as selling properties directly. So in speaking with Mr. Hilty, it seems like the best avenue if you were to sell this property would be to transition it back to the city. So transfer it back to the city, then surplus the property and do another auction process. But again, you'd relinquish all control as to how it's developed. in my mind, as economic development here, and speaking with Ophelia, my colleague, it's a very prominent piece of land, and it is going to further direct the vision of the downtown. I mean, it really is going to guide our next steps for downtown Caldwell, right across from Indian Creek Plaza. It's next to some prominent businesses there. You have Amano, Shared Stories, Flying In, Bella Blue Boutique, and many others that are there. So it's just important that we do it well, we do it right, and again, we just want to make sure that the property is developed the best that it can be. So the other option is to reissue an RFP, and that process, what we could do is extend the timeline perhaps. That's something I've thought about quite a bit. We've had some uncertainty in the economy. I believe personally that there are some investment groups and developers that are simply sitting on the sidelines just waiting for things to clear up. There still is a little bit of smoke out there. We had a jobs report that wasn't extremely favorable back in July, and that's something that I know has kept people at bay with future investment. So just thinking about timelines and whatnot, we could reissue an RFP, have discussions with developers, groups that have expressed interest previously, and just see where it goes. You know, that's another option that we can move forward with. Ophelia has had conversations with a consultant. His name is Brad Kramer. He actually does some consulting services for the city of Chubbuck, Pocatello, and Idaho Falls. He advised that the city engage with developers, perhaps look at incentive packages that could be offered on that property, but more or less try to maintain ownership so we could drive how that property is developed. I tend to agree with his remarks there. He said also the option exists where you can surplus the property. So those are the two options that remain on this property. Mr. Hilty, I think I captured it all for the most part. If you would mind going to the next slide, making sure I don't have, okay, that's all I have. So I am happy to answer any questions that you all may have. I know that was a lot of history in a very short span of time, but here to help support you in any way I can.
Very good. Thank you, Stephen. Questions? Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, Stephen, thanks for the history reminder. On our last RFP number 4, if memory serves me right, for some reason, we did a really short-term RFP duration. Am I thinking correct on that?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Allgood, you are. It was a 30-day RFP, which is the required amount of time for an RFP to be issued.
Is there a reason why we did it so short?
There was. We did have some very strong interest up front. If you recall, the RFP process had lagged a little bit. We had to create a new urban renewal district, and due to that time frame, I think there were some changes inherently that took place on behalf of the groups that were interested in the property. So it just changed the scope and the outlook of the project entirely.
But if we determined that we wanted to do another RFP, we could do 90 days without an issue? Yes,
absolutely. And that would be my recommendation, is just to see if we can extend it out and give people time. You know, obviously we have the holiday seasons coming up, which is hard to believe, but that's something that we can certainly look at.
And Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Hilty a question? Sure. If we were to surplus the property, return it to the city and surplus it, is there a route to get the money back to urban renewal?
Good question. Not directly, and the reason is because that property, as Stephen said, was originally acquired by the city, and the city paid for it, and then transferred it to the Urban Renewal Agency with the understanding that the agency would pursue an RFP, which of course it did, and so I think there's an open question then as to where that money would go. The city may feel like if the RFP process didn't work, maybe that money should stay with the city because the city purchased the property. So I think if you want to go that route, we really need to kind of probably have a discussion with the city about what its expectations might be for the disposition of the funds.
Got you. Thank you both.
Mr. Doty?
Sure. I'll support the RFP going out for 90 days before it goes back to the city, as long as the urban renewal still covers it and there's no issues there, and I'm guessing there's not, or Mr. Hilty would have told us that, I would hope. And so, I mean, we might as well try again at a longer period of time. So,
Ms. Warwick?
I tend to agree. I hate to just have that surplus in that prime location and have somebody buy it and either do nothing at all or do something we don't want done there. So I'm totally in favor of a 90-day RFP for that piece.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, so I've made some comment about selling it and listing it, and I've made that comment to get people interested, maybe to market it. I think as you look at the lay of the land, I think that property, that 905 property, are two maybe the most valuable downtown pieces of ground that are available out there. So I don't think we need to get into a hurry to be giving anything back to the city, or I think we maintain that. I just think we try to find maybe a way to market it, get it advertised. So I think there's somebody eventually that might want to come in there and maybe buy out Mr. Senga and make it a bigger area, or maybe they want to combine forces. I don't know. But I think that's a very desirable piece of ground. For us to give it back to the city, I wouldn't support that at all. I know Aztec Development in your presentation, and I was here when they put a slide up, or some sort of presentation. It was a 7-story building. It was going to have a parking garage. That wasn't even possible to do per engineering, from what I've heard. Trying to make a parking garage, there was an issue with water. To go 7 stories up, I was told by a committee person here that it wasn't possible. So I think we saw a lot of smoke and mirrors in that presentation and with that RFP. I think that I'm questioning, has that ground been tested at all for, do we have something hard copy that shows that it's been tested?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Moore, we have conducted a Phase 1 environmental study on that property. It was produced by Terracon. They're a local contractor based out of Boise. Or at least they have an office in Boise, but we do have records of more historical, elements tied to the property, what it was formerly used as, and some general information around, possible contaminants, those types of things. But we do have that report, and we can certainly pass that along if it's of interest.
I don't need to review it. I'm just making sure that we have it done and that it's ready to go. I would like to see it paved. I'm not a big fan of paving streets, or areas like that, but I think in the meantime, I think we ought to pave it. I think it ought to be used. If I was the owner of a mono across the street, and when that wind blows and that dust comes across the street and right through their front door, I don't know why we can't do more than what we have with it right now. It's got a nice trench through the middle of it. It looks horrible, and I think it's dirt. So I would support paving that. I think it should be held by URA and preserved.
Mr. Allgood?
I just threw out the 90-day thing. What is your recommendation on the duration of an RFP to make sure this thing happens?
Yeah, Chairman and Commissioner Allgood, I've thought a little bit about it. I am, we have the holidays coming up here. I'd love to get out of that. Just get through, I would think, just get through 2025 and maybe early next year, have a due date there. I'm not saying we're going to do this tomorrow and issue an RFP, but maybe give ourselves a little bit of time, perhaps a month or so, and then issue it, and then give us time to get out of 2025 into early 2026 and have a due date then. That'll give myself and Ophelia time to have some communication with developers, those that have expressed interest. Folks like Side A Brewing, reaching back out to them and saying, hey, I know there's some time has passed. Are you possibly interested? Because I love what they put together. I think that was an appropriate design for that location. It's just, and it's a smaller lot, so there's some development challenges there. The ideal setup is for the whole property to be developed, but unfortunately we do not own those properties. And for whatever it's worth, I'm meeting with Mr. Senga later this week, and I'm going to see how far I can get on getting an understanding of what he intends to do, which he has conveyed to me, at least up to this point, that there's no immediate plans for development there. So just give me a better idea of, hey, are you willing to sell? Are you willing to look at some kind of land swap, just to give us options to consider as an agency as to how we move forward. But ideally, we get the whole thing developed, and I'm working toward an objective that gets that done.
Mr. Chair, do we need a motion of some type on this, or are we just talking?
Yeah, it comes to us as an action item. Do we need to make a formal declaration of what the intent is, Mr. Hilty?
Yeah, that's what we were hoping, if the commissioner's comfortable making a decision and giving us some direction. I think the other thing that I'm thinking, Mr. Chairman, is if the commissioners would like to see that RFP before it goes out, we just need to know. And so we could bring one back at the September meeting or whatever, but staff needs some direction on that.
Chris?
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that I'm not going to put any dates or durations at this point, just make a motion that we go for RFP, and at the next meeting, we'll have all that ironed out, and we'll vote on the final details.
Okay, very good. We have a motion by Mr. Allgood. A second by Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion? Okay, would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Allgood,
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Porter,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Very good. Next item of old business is a discussion of a potential LID in the north area. Welcome, Mr. Hilty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. This is not an action item, just kind of a discussion. And Rob is the guy who's going to have the interesting stuff for you to look at, and I'm going to pass the baton to him shortly, but I wanted to put just a little context on this. And this is what staff has been discussing, how to deal with this request by Ted Caldwell to take over some of his road building responsibilities and how we would fund that. In dealing with Ray Lynn, we think probably the best funding mechanism is an LID, and if you're not familiar with what that is, it's an acronym that means Local Improvement District. It'd be a geographic area created by the city. It's not something that the Urban Renewal Agency could do, so we would need the cooperation of the city of Caldwell. But they would essentially create a district for the purpose of bonding to put in road improvements, and then the properties benefited by those improvements would pay back those bonds over time, and it would be paid as part of their taxes, so it would be an additional line item on their taxes. As a specific funding mechanism for Ted Caldwell's project, then his property would be primarily benefited by what we've talked about on Gravel Lane and Chicago. And then the idea is the agency would step in and pay whatever assessment was made, and that would provide the financing to get this done. And again, of course, on the other side of that is then Ted's transaction with the Luxor Group and the potential for the amphitheater, and so that's, of course, the end game. As we talked about it at the staff level, we thought, if we're going to do this, we probably ought to look at whether or not it makes sense to expand that LID to cover some of the other needed infrastructure in the area. And the idea there, so we've got to that point. I think Rob's going to show you what some of those concepts would look like, and I do want to stress that it is conceptual at this point. We're going to see properties that would be participants that we have not yet approached. We don't know what their willingness would be. That's kind of the next step, but we did want to give an update to the commission that we're looking at an LID, not just to fund this proposal that we've been working on with Ted Caldwell and Luxor, but to see if we couldn't get a kickstart on some broader infrastructure out there. The idea would be, I think Stephen's going to reach out to those property owners and see what appetite they have for subjecting their properties to an LID in exchange for getting some of these roads built out there to try to launch. Looking down the road, if the infrastructure project funded by the LID does result in significant development at the site, that's going to start to generate increment. And that increment then could be used for refunding bonds to alleviate that LID from those property owners. There's a lot of unknowns. We can't make that promise, but it is at least conceptually a possibility if this project gets off the ground and does what we hope it will do, which is serve as a catalyst for significant development out there. So tonight, I think no decision, just we're going to let Rob kind of present what he's got in mind, and then more of an update to let you know the direction we're going as staff, which is to talk to some of these property owners that might be benefited by the infrastructure, and we'll keep you posted. It's a project that is in process, but of course, if we're doing something that you don't like, we certainly would want to hear from you about that tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rob.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, I appreciate this moment here just to briefly explain what you're looking at. What you have here is just a summary. There's a lot of other pages that kind of have the nuts and bolts of the calculation, and I would certainly be happy to have that emailed out to all of you. I apologize that it wasn't in your packet. Basically, what we're looking at is exactly what Mark said. We decided to look at what the options would be to expand this LID concept. And so I've broken out some of the critical areas into geographical locations. You can see, for example, one of the locations is Base Layer Caldwell LLC. And then TC Property Management West, TC Property Management East. And then we have Two Bridges Association. And then the weather-tight roofing is that one on the south, and those are all geographical areas within this urban renewal area. These seem to be the areas that are pushing the hardest to get infrastructure constructed, and areas that, in my opinion, are probably most critical to get some of the water and sewer lines constructed. As Mark mentioned, Mr. Hilty mentioned, we have not talked to the property owners yet about forming these LIDs or looking at that option, but as we meet with the property owners, we would be able to go over with them the pros and cons of this alternative. And at the end of the day, I think the biggest benefit is that we could, if these loans are backed by the property owners through the LID, then we can get the bonding we need to get some of these projects initiated immediately. And then also, as Mr. Hilty represented, after a few years, if there was a significant amount of increment coming in because of the development that these projects spurred, then maybe there would be an option for reimbursement back to those property owners, or contribution for some of those loans. These numbers are subject to change, and there are a lot of other properties that may be considered as well as part of this that would reduce some of the impact directly to some of these properties on the financial side. And we're still looking at that, but this is generally the concept that we're looking at. And we think that this would be something that, an LID takes a little bit of time to get off the ground, and there's a lot of paperwork and items that have to go through city council, but once we get something in the works, then I think that would help us be able to get some of these infrastructure projects moving relatively quick. With that, I am happy to answer any questions, and as I stand here.
Thank you, Rob. Mr. Algan.
King of questions tonight. So Rob, the traffic light at Centennial and Chicago, is that in our plans anywhere currently, or is that just if this comes to fruition?
That is a great question. So that is actually a project that's not in our urban renewal plan, but that is a traffic light that is needed for some of these developments to be constructed. It's something that ITD would almost certainly require. And so when I say that in the future, in a couple years, if we had increment coming back in, the commission may decide to help offset some of those financial costs on some of those property owners, but there may be a few specific items in here that would not be eligible for reimbursement, and that would be like that traffic light on Centennial.
Gotcha.
Other questions for Rob? I think you've done pretty well. This is a very good report. Thank you for this.
Mr. Chairman, real quickly, so Rob, you said that we would have an email and that was going to follow this, and what was going to be in that email with some numbers?
There's a lot of supporting data
Okay.
that you don't have in front of you that shows each project specifically.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the document that you received several months ago, but I've made some alterations and I've reorganized it into geographical areas. I would be happy to send that out with the understanding that it is a work in progress and very subject to change.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Ray Lynn, if I could ask you a question also. You've spoken with Michael Keith about our situation out there at the north area, is that right? And the LID was one of the areas or one of the avenues that he suggested we consider.
Yes, so Michael Keith, he's our municipal advisor for the city, and so I've spoken with him as well as bond counsel to see what options, because bond council really does have the final say of if we can go to bond for this and what options there are. So the city is the one that would go to bond. It's not URA that's going to bond, which the LIDs are a perfectly acceptable way to bond for the city. Normally, the city does not bond LIDs. That's not a process we currently do. But in this scenario, I thought it would be definitely an option to help spur that, where the city is not having to put a ton of funds on the line for that, so.
Great, thank you, Raylan. Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, Rob, on an LID situation, do you have to have 100% committal, or 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 to make, you got 5 people on here, if someone says, no, I'm not interested, does that kill the whole thing?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Allgood, these LIDs would actually be separate areas. So it would be one property owner would be doing an LID for his or her area. It's not all lumped together in one LID. And so each property owner, in a sense, is controlling their own fate with the projects. LIDs have some flexibility. Typically a miscellaneous concrete LID is a 10-year LID. It's paid off in annual payments. They can be longer than that. They can be shorter than that. So there is some flexibility there that we can look at depending on maybe the desire of the property owner. But each geographical area would break out into its own LID, essentially.
Got you, thank you.
Any other questions for Rob? Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
This brings us to our first item of new business. It's to consider the resolution approving the URA budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. So we have the fiscal year 2026 budget before you. Just to kind of go over everything one more time for fiscal year 26. For revenue, we have the north increment of 157,200. And then we have the site A increment, that is the site that we were talking about with the RFP earlier, just right over $500. And then we have 2 interests, just the Banner Bank interest, because we are spending down those funds. That's why I do have that projection lower. And then the LGIP interest for a total revenue of $192,735. And then on the expense side, this is where after the workshop I made some changes based off of your guys' recommendations. And so we have the audit at $18,600, economic development of $213,753. So this is about $77,000 in current economic development contributions, and then the funding of the executive director position, or the assistant economic development director position. So, and then admin services of $154,700. The attorney contract of $88,800. iCrimp of $3,895. And then because of the properties, we have the irrigation assessment of $500, advertising of $200, general operating supplies of $1,000, and then the remaining of these projects for the east area of $750,000, and then any north area projects, such as the current TIF agreements that we do have, which the TIF agreements are nowhere close to the $100,000, but I did put that number in there in case we do have other projects that come up. For a total expense of $1,331,448. And so that is my presentation for this budget, but it is a public hearing. So,
Very good, thank you.
yeah. I don't know if you have anybody else that wants to talk.
There was nobody signed up to speak, so we will consider the
Okay.
public hearing
Well, that
closed.
makes it easy.
Mhm.
So,
Mr. Chair, just a
Mr.
question.
Doty, yes.
So obviously those two numbers are quite separate, right? The revenue coming in and the expense going out. So would you just briefly describe how you're going to offset that issue and then what we hope to happen in the future so that it rights itself as well?
Yeah, so currently, as you can see in the different cash buckets, we have an operating cash bucket, the surety bonds that we currently have that are essentially a holding bucket that we do not touch. The east area increment funds, the north area increment funds, the side A, and then the LGIP. So I do track each increment funding separately, and so you can see that currently any east area projects that we are paying for are coming out of the operating budget because there is no cash available, because the only cash that's coming in from that is from the east area. And so the majority of all of these operating expenses are going to come from the operating budget, except for a very small percentage that's going to come from the north and then the north area projects. And so we are spending down fund balance from this, which is, I believe, the intent with trying to close out the east area. So.
Mr. Moore, any questions? Okay. I thought you were reaching. Okay. All right, thank you, Raylene. Do we have a motion in consideration of this resolution? Mr. Doty?
I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2026 URA budget.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Doty. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Warwick. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, if I could just make one
Ms. Warwick.
comment, just so people don't kind of misunderstand. It's kind of the point of an urban renewal budget to spend that money. We are doing urban renewal projects, so it's not like, we want to build up a lot of money and leave ourselves in a good spot, because our point is to get that increment in and put that increment back out to accomplish urban renewal goals. So I don't want people to think we're just, being irresponsible with the money here, because the numbers are so lopsided. They will right themselves as increment starts coming in from north, but we've got to upfront some of it.
Very good. Thank you, Julie. Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, I would piggyback with what Julie just said. And instead of spending, I would say we invest that, because as we invest that, and we've invested over the years, I've got a lot of benefit out of URA in this area. Growing up here when there was nothing here and I wanted to get out of here, it's sure changed. So urban renewal has changed a lot of that, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dave. All right, would our secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Very good. Thanks, Raylene. That brings us to our second action item, to consider a resolution authorizing the approval and execution of agreement for legal services.
That is the, are we on action item 2? Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry.
or 3?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at a previous agenda. I need to look at the last one, actually. Oh, yeah, this one. Election of chair and vice chair for the Caldwell Urban Renewal Board of Commissioners. That was
Mr.
a
Chair.
great one to stumble on, wasn't it?
Isn't it a great one to stumble on?
Okay.
I nominate Mr. Jim Porter as chair of urban renewal.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Any other nominees? I guess not. Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
All right, I'm on the right page now. Our fourth action item is to consider invoices for payment.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we need to do vice chair.
Oh,
And I
We should
would
do that.
nominate Ms. Warwick.
thank you, Mr. Allgood. Do we
I'll
have a
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other nominees? Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. That brings us to action item number 4, to consider the invoices for payment.
So we have 18,900 for the August economic development contributions, 6,800 for the July attorney services, $165.06 for the public notice, $80,893.90 for project 24, $75 for reimbursement of URA training, for a total of $106,833.96.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve the payments?
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Ms. Warwick, a second by Mr. Doty. Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick? Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Okay, back to you, our monthly cash reconciliation report.
So, as you can see from the bank reconciliation, between the two accounts, we have just over 3.9 million. We had our second bigger deposit of tax increment come in. I will say that most of the urban renewal tax increment comes in January, and so we just have some lingering ones come in July and June. And so for the north area, we received $9,512, and then we received $1,022 in past dues from the east area. And yeah, that's all I
Okay.
have. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ray Lynn? Do we have a motion to approve the monthly cash reconciliation?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Warwick, a second by Mr. Allgood. Would the secretary call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Allgood?
Yes.
Commissioner Doty?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
That brings us to our project list.
So I do have an updated North project list. As you can see, we now have 2 TIF agreements, one with District 26 and then one with Maverick. We have made the first increment payment for District 26. We approved that last month. And then Maverick is currently under construction, so that won't be updated again until I receive invoices for them, so. And then for the east area, I will say in some of the projects, getting those updated from project 7, I did hear from engineering that that's starting to be underway. And then the Usick Bridge is it's currently under construction. And then we just approved one of the invoices that was for Project 24, which is also part of the alley improvements on Project 19. So, stand for
Very
any
good.
questions.
Any questions in regard to the project list? Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, Ray Lynn, on project number 7,
Yes.
that's still showing open. Why is that still open?
So, the project right over here, they have to abandon some utilities, and so that will, in the right of way, and so that, or move them, if I'm correct, yeah, move them. And so those funds will help move those utilities.
And that's the project that Mr. Mavon was
Yes.
presenting on. We still have some left to do on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Rayland, the project number 26, there's still, is that the downtown signage wayfinding? Boy, that's been around for about 3 years. What's left to complete on that?
There is, with talking with Danae at Destination Caldwell, she is going to come before the committee next month. But there's still a lot of signs to be installed. And so the city is working with her on the different options to help get those installed. And it could be that we need to pay for installation.
Gotcha.
So.
So this is an odd question. So the new position that we talked about prior month, and then we had the workshop and discussed that, would that person pretty much take this part of the report and report on that to us? This would take this off your plate, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions in regard to the project list? Very good. Thank you, Raylan. Brings us to our economic development report, and first up is Mr. Jenkins.
right, thank you, Commissioner, or Chair and Commission. Appreciate the opportunity to share these brief updates with you, and I'll be brief this evening. I know there are a lot of things going on. This is rodeo week. I see Commissioner Doty has his hat over there. Just reminded me, here we go, here we go. So to start off, I just want to make a brief comment. I was at the National Brownfields Conference this past week, and there is a lot of chatter online about Caldwell and our success and, you know, just different stories that are shared and whatnot. I was in a workshop, and the city of Caldwell was brought up, and I was absolutely shocked. I was in there with, I'm in a room with people there from everywhere, and they were discussing Indian Creek's project because we received an EPA cleanup grant. And the gentleman speaking was actually out of the Washington, D.C. office at the Environmental Protection Agency headquarters. He had nothing to do with Caldwell, no bias, no none of that. Based in Washington, D.C., was talking about the revitalization that took place as a result of Indian Creek and the impact to the city that it's created. So urban renewal was very much part of that process. I just want to congratulate you all on that. I was really caught off guard. I had my little Caldwell badge on, and I showed it to her, you know, just making sure I had to shout it out. But there's just a lot of rhetoric online and whatnot, and I just, Caldwell is a national success, and it's being shared pretty broadly, and that was really exciting to see. So with that, I'll get into my report. So North Caldwell Urban Renewal area, so we have Project America, large-scale project that is investigating the region for location opportunities. This manufacturer will provide hundreds of jobs and bring a large investment to the community. I submitted 2 sites that were based in the North Caldwell URA, and so far the group has reached back out to me, their broker has at least, regarding one of the sites. So that's really good news because it is a national project, and we're excited to capture their attention. Project Broken Arrow, this is an entertainment-based concept. They continue to move forward. Discussions regarding the venue and details surrounding operations continue to progress. This is just the FYI, the Canyon County Jail. So the Canyon County is proposing to build a 192-bed women's jail facility on the frontage along Highway 2026 in North Caldwell's Urban Renewal District. The county has issued an RFP for the project, and it's being shared across the region. So just heads up on that. Project Horizon, I've reached back out to them. This is a group that showed tremendous interest, but following the annexation of the Caldwell Housing Authority, I've reached back out to them to give them a heads up that some of their parcels of interest have now have a city touch. So they meet the qualifications for annexation into the city of Caldwell. So that was a good sign, and they were happy to hear that news. So it's been a long time coming. And then Project Well, they're looking at smaller acreage sites in the area. They are actually interested in the District 26 property. They're looking at roughly 2 acres. They need a 10,000 square foot facility. This is a Caldwell business that is expanding. So District 26, we're fortunate that the development team there is aware of how development should occur. They have lots of various sizes that could accommodate uses such as this. Lastly, Project Stitch. This is a group out of Pennsylvania. They visited the Boise Metro recently, had a great lunch with this group. They're looking for roughly 60 acres. They would bring a large number of jobs to Caldwell. It would be a tremendous investment, one of the biggest that I've ever seen. They're an online provider that serves the world. So they are really high on the Boise Metro as a whole, love what's happening with Micron and some of the other expansions that are taking place in our region, so they want to be a part of that. And then just briefly, I had a cluster of things I was going to share. I was probably going to bore you guys half to death, but I'll condense this as much as I can. The current annual inflation rate, and this is additional updates, so we're moving on, is 2.7% in July. It was in June it was 2.35%, so it's risen just a little bit there. Idaho's unemployment rate is 3.6%, which is a positive thing that shows that our jobs are getting filled. There's not a lot of joblessness in the area. The national average is 4.2%. And skip that. Just in case you guys are curious. CDC data released Thursday. It showed this is about a week ago. America's fertility rate dropped to an all-time low. The reason this matters to us is because we worry about our workforce in the future and whatnot. It's now 1.6 children per woman on average in 2024. I have 4 kids, so you're welcome that I'm adding to the workforce there. But more or less, this is something just to keep our eyes on as things progress, obviously with the nation and whatnot. But again, I have a bunch of random things on here. Because we're going into football season, just want you guys to know that the Texas Longhorns are the most valuable team in college football. They're worth $2.38 billion, almost $500 million more than the second place Georgia Bulldogs. That's my team. Unfortunately, Boise State did not make the list. I don't know where they're at, but the lowest on this list, at least, was University of Southern California. They're valued at about $75 million. And the last thing I will mention here is that job growth. So manufacturing job growth, and manufacturing jobs are the most important in economic development because these are jobs that are high skill, high wage in most cases, but they're also sticky, meaning that manufacturers invest a lot. They have a lot of investment in equipment, the buildings that they occupy, but they also invest in the employees. They want to keep employees long term, and these are statistically some of the highest valued jobs that we have. There's a list of about 15 cities here that are gaining 1,000 plus jobs, that gained 1,000 plus jobs in May of 2025 year over year. Boise is third out of this 15, and they're at 5.23%. And when they say Boise, it's really the region as a whole in terms of manufacturing jobs that have been gained during that time. So year over year, from May of 2024 to May of 2025, we've grown by 5.23%. We're just ahead of Palm Bay, Melbourne, Titusville, Florida, and just below Napa, California. And with that, I believe that is all I have, unless there are any questions for me.
Questions for Stephen? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Stephen, thanks for updating us on your trip. I think it's important to hear, the things that we have done successfully around here. Growing up here, gosh, this was a ghost town. It was rough. This thing's came a long ways. I'm very proud of it. I enjoy it. I have no plans to leave, and I hope my kid wants to come back from out of state and stay here too. With that in mind, what's the biggest thing that you took from that workshop, and with what you do in a day or your duties here in the city? What did it benefit you?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioner Moore, multiple benefits. It was a week-long learning opportunity related to the Brownfields grant that the city of Caldwell has accepted from the EPA to the tune of $500,000. So really the point of being there was to learn how to execute on the grant, to fulfill the obligations tied to the grant, stay in compliance under the EPA guidelines and so forth. Met a lot of contractors that are looking to support Caldwell with our future endeavors related to brownfield opportunities. Brownfields essentially would be phase 1 and phase 2 reporting on different properties in the city. My intent is to make properties as shovel-ready as possible. So we would hope to fulfill phase 1 studies on multiple properties within the urban renewal district, so there are not these looming question marks related to development opportunities at any given site within that district. So that would be first and foremost one of the areas of focus. The other is our downtown, so we're going to continue to focus on that. And then lastly is the Caldwell Event Center. We called all three of those areas out in the grant. But the biggest takeaway just from that workshop specifically was that we are nationally recognized. And I think we get in this little bubble of negativity sometimes, and it's really off base. It really is. I mean, you consider where Caldwell was and where it is today, and don't even take my word for it. Look at the numbers in terms of the values that have increased over that span of time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is tied to urban renewal and the benefit of what urban renewal has done to the city. The investment, to your point, has been rather dramatic. Mm-hmm. If you look at Sky Ranch and North Ranch and even our downtown, I mean, it is really just a storyline for how urban renewal should be done. And that was, from that workshop, I was very proud to be affiliated with just a small piece of that. You know, it was very special to me to see that, and really I wasn't expecting it, so that was special as well.
Yeah, good job. My last question, you give some good information, that you report a little tidbit of what's going on globally and on the big scene. So 2.7% inflation, it's up from 2.3. I know the president would probably argue that, right? That we don't, what is inflation? Do we have any inflation? In your travels around here locally, I know my travels around here locally, the economy's moving pretty fast. Immigration kind of affects that as well. What do you see inflation doing here to the city of Caldwell? How's it impacting this area in your travels?
Yeah, as Chairman Commissioner Moore, that's a good question. Really, the biggest impact that I've seen is related to products. So building materials, things like that, land costs have been tied to that. I actually have a graph that I didn't show here, but it has a list of material or items that are impacted most by inflation. Number one is hospital services. It's up 271.1%, and that is since 2000 to 2025. College tuition and fees is second. Third is college textbooks, and then childcare and nursery school. All those have a downstream impact related to growth, employees, how they operate in the community. So you start piecing all that together, and overall, it impacts the development potential for future projects.
Yeah. Being around here in 2007, when things turned off, literally turned off for 2, 3, 4 years, there was a lot of people that left because there weren't jobs here. There weren't basic manufacturing jobs. There weren't basic jobs, and now we have that. So I think this place is well insulated with jobs. I think that's a huge part should this economy turn in a direction similar to that. I don't think it'll ever go back to that. I mean, never say never, but I think with what we have here locally, the jobs that have been provided and completed here in Caldwell, it's twofold. Mm-hmm. So I think that protects us in a lot of ways and keeps us from shrinking. So thank you and good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Olga?
Yeah, Stephen, I'm looking at a slide you provided here. It shows the difference between a house in the 1950s and a house today, 983 square feet versus 2,500 square feet.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of wearing my city council hat on land use decisions here.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Doty and I get a lot of land use developers in here that want small lots and small houses. I always resist that because that's not what we have done for so many years. But is that the trend of what you're seeing in economic development, is going smaller again?
Yes, Chairman, Commissioner Allgood, I was just in a city that has 2 million people in the city, and we have less than 2 million in the state of Idaho. So I was looking at the living environment there in that community, and it was, very small, very efficient use of land, and I think we're moving toward that trend. As we talk locally about the elements of sprawl, moving outside you move outside the core of the city, into the periphery of Caldwell, the future development that could occur there, definitely making more efficient use of our land has come up. That graph was interesting to me as well, Commissioner Allgood. It caught my eye because 983 square feet in the 1950s, I can't imagine. I mentioned I have 4 boys. We can hardly survive in the house that we're in. I just cannot imagine being in 983 square feet. But they made it work, and that was just the norm at that time. If you recognize the square footage per person at that time, 3.4 people, or about 290 square feet per person, compared to what we're dealing with today, which is 2.6 people, 920 square feet per person. So we've just grown to be accustomed to bigger settings, and it's not necessarily the need. It's a need. It's just become the norm.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Are you planning to have more kids?
I said that at 3, but I will. I think we're good. We got a golden retriever, and our house is full. So
very good.
Yeah, appreciate the comment.
Very good. Okay,
Thank
you, Stephen. Ophelia? Bring us some good news.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, I am here with just a lot of great news tonight. So I don't have anything to add to URA Downtown Properties. I think Stephen did an amazing job covering Side A and the future of Side A, so I'll just move into general downtown updates. So we do have a new business that just opened up over the weekend, the Depot Grub and Hub, which is at 712 Main Street. It's a sports bar, so really excited about that. We've had a couple of expansions. Shared Stories has expanded into the next space right next to them. Chop Shop has also expanded next door, so we're excited about those local businesses who are thriving in our community. We also posted a sneak peek of the Griddle that will be opening up the last week of this month or the first week of September. And so we did get a lot of positive feedback through our Facebook, through our economic development page. So a lot of positive feedback. People are excited give them a try. We have ribbon cuttings that will be taking place, 2 ribbon cuttings in the downtown Bubbly Facial Bar. That'll be 12 to 1 on 8/26/25, and that's, Dean mentioned that all his retail lease spaces have been leased, and so that will be one of the ones that will be having a ribbon cutting this month. We also have the grand opening and ribbon cutting of the Executive Salon and Suites at Indian Creek, and that's right next to Amano, and Yudi is the owner, and she's done a wonderful job in doing a great facelift to that building. We also had a building, I'm trying to think of the name of that building, where Caldwell Floral sits, that just changed hands. And so with the new owner, so what you'll see, there's a lot of facade improvements from the outside. He owns various buildings throughout the downtowns, and he does a great job in coming in and just doing a facelift to those buildings. So we're super excited about that in our downtown. So that's all the great news that I have for you all tonight.
Very good. Any questions for Ophelia? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Ophelia, maybe it's none of my business, and I'm being nosy here, but how come you didn't go to Chicago to this brownfield workshop? I know the mayor went, Stephen went, but how come you don't go?
So Brownsville is very specific, and a lot of times we have to divide and conquer. And I don't think the mayor actually went for this specific. I misunderstood. I know our question was asked if the mayor attended the conference. The mayor did not actually attend that specific conference. He was at a different conference and just happened to be there. That is.
But why didn't you go?
So for the grants, I don't think it required both Stephen and I to be at that conference. So
An expense deal?
I'm not sure if it was an expense deal or not. We didn't get into the budget in regards to that. I do attend other conferences as well. So I have a international downtown conference that I will be attending next month that Stephen won't be attending. So again, we just sort of divide our work. There's 2 of us in the department, so we have to be really careful with how we spend our time.
Last question.
Sure.
How's inflation treating some of the retailers and some of the people that you come in contact with? What's that like or not like?
Yeah, so what I hear from retails is that there's a lot of spending coming in from tourism. So it's actually really surprising to hear that, especially for Caldwell specifically, right, that we do get a lot of tourists in here. I actually ran into a couple earlier this year that were visiting from Texas, just visiting family and just really are in awe, like Stephen said. When you talk to people, they do mention Caldwell as being the poster child of redevelopment, revitalization. And so one of the things that you do get from those tourists is that they're willing to open up their pockets. So they have that extra spending money as part of their travel plans. In terms of your local residents, they're a little tighter with their money. I'll be honest with you, I'm a local resident, and like Stephen mentioned, a lot of great things are happening. Kids are getting back to school, so we have expenses there. We have a mortgage. Cost of groceries have gone up. I'm very fortunate not to be driving a fuel vehicle. I think fuel's now, I have no idea, probably $3.59, I'm guessing. So I think people are just a little bit more careful. I think coming out of COVID, people were excited to get out there in the community and spend their money, but now with the economy being a little different, people are just a little bit more careful on how they spend their money.
Cool.
Yeah.
I tried to get to that depot twice, and it was packed both times I went there.
Yeah.
I had to walk in and walk out. It was.
Yeah.
But they look like they're having fun.
Yeah, great things are happening in our downtown.
Any
Absolutely.
other questions for Ophelia? Very good. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Brings us to our last item, the attorney reports. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 very brief reports, just updates on pending new urban renewal areas. The first one, Lee Jenke site, Wednesday this week on the 13th. That will be before the Planning and Zoning Commission for a comprehensive plan analysis. I'll be over here to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission on their statutory role in moving that toward completion. The following Monday on the 18th, it'll be before the City Council for the final public hearing, and then the ordinance that would actually create that new area. That'll be before the City Council a week from tonight. And then hopefully we can get Mr. Jenke off and running. On the Central Project area, I appeared before the City Council last week with the resolution to declare the area deteriorating. That was passed on a 4-2 vote. the next step is to sort of do the heavy lift. This is ongoing with Nexus, the feasibility study, the project list, the cost estimates, and then sort of the framework of the plan will be in the works. The next formal step for that, once that starts to take shape, come back to the agency. That'll start the processing toward the city council and the final act, which we really need to get done by the end of the year, and I think we're on track to do that. If you'd like to follow along with the processing, as you'll recall, on the recommendation of the commissioners, we put together earlier this year, I think it was a 10-step process in going from concept to completed urban renewal. The Lee Jinky site is at steps 7 and 8, planning and zoning, city council, and the central area is going to be in the throes of step 4, which is, again, by far kind of the heavy lift on creating a new urban renewal area. But you can certainly look at that list online to see where those are at. That's all I have, unless there are questions for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Hilty? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hilty, thanks for your comment in the paper last Friday, the Tribune there on the front page. I thought you did a very good job of explaining a redevelopment project in this area for this new urban renewal. There was a couple of comments about some councilmen members that didn't quite agree to it, but I thought you did a very good job of explaining how it's going to work, and this is kind of the first one of this kind in the city. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is in the sense that, we've got a blighted residential neighborhood that is the heart of that. We've looked at sort of industrial commercial development, which is profoundly important in developing, a viable tax base for the rest of the city. So this will be a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that. Yeah.
I see some properties that have been listed, and over the weekend I saw all those properties had open houses. People are looking to buy those. That Jinky project there is brand new housing. An affordable price. That whole area is just screaming for new development. So I appreciate you explaining that to the community and stepping up there and quoting that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore.
Any other questions for Mr. Hilty? Very good. Thank you, Mark. Brings us to our commissioner reports. Mr. Doty, anything to say?
If it's not obvious, the rodeo is this week, and the Buckaroo breakfast starts tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. I think Commissioner Brooks is going to be there, so if you want to see him, he's going to make an appearance. But we appreciate the support, and let's all go to the rodeo.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Ms. Warwick. Mr. Brooks? Mr. Cole? Mr. Allgood?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moore?
I'm going to piggyback Councilman Doty. The Culinary Rodeo's off, the Lions Food Booth, my gosh, we're going to be working our tail off in there. Buckaroo breakfast duties, I got that just 5:30 in the morning, that's what comes pretty soon, but looking forward to seeing everybody in the community. Those are great events, they're fun. Been doing it for over 25 years, and looking forward to it.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, it is rodeo week. We'll be there a couple of times. I just wanted to take a moment to just remind the public and anybody who might be watching or listening that Caldwell is an extraordinary town in terms of if you have an honest question to ask, you will get an honest answer. You do not have to read the comic books or Facebook or any of these things if you want to know the truth. And I've dealt with a couple of things in the last couple of weeks that would just kind of pushed me in a direction to want to say something about it. And in the council meeting last Monday night, one of the council people mentioned that this central city allocation area that we're working towards appeared to be being pushed through. And I know that we've spent 2.5 years on this, and that's a bad look in the community to let that stand. So I needed to confront it, and I did, and everything's fine. We were kind to one another. But again, just if you're a member of the public and you have questions, ask. it's not hard to get a correct answer. It's very easy to get a false answer. So with that said, we will entertain a motion for adjournment. All right, we are adjourned.